everyone, welcome to Locating Lauren. I'm Lauren and I'm so glad you're here. This is the continuation of my PhD diary series where I talk about everything that I'm enduring in my own PhD experience. I'm currently a first year PhD student at the University of Mississippi. So right now we are talking about week 4 of the PhD program, how the general theme was, what was going on, and everything to do with that. So if you have watched my previous videos, thank you so much for following along. If not, you can go ahead and head back to week 0 through 3, and that'll give you all the information you need to know and kind of get you up to speed on how my journey's been going so far. If you would like even more content than that, even more insight to the PhD life, you can head over to my Instagram and follow me kind of in the day by day, or you can check out my blog where I have a lot of information about higher education in general, looking to build a community over there. So please join us. I would love to have you. Without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about week 4. So I'm so sorry. I feel like so far in the PhD diary series I've been kind of negative, and mind you, I am a pessimist by nature, but I go back and look at it, I'm like, man, this is not encouraging necessarily for anyone who's looking to do this, because it just seems kind of like a bummer in the beginning. But I do want to disclaim that in a PhD program, what you're going to experience at the beginning is that rocky transition, that change, and that can be a difficult thing. Personally, I don't like change, just generally speaking. It's not my favorite thing, and I do tend to really go through it when I'm going through a huge life change, and I know a lot of other people experience that as well. So I do want to put out there that those first couple weeks are hard primarily for that reason, along with all the other reasons that I mentioned in the previous videos. So week 4, as I go into talking about it, I will say in hindsight, because I am past week 4 at this point, but looking back at it, that was probably the month in was the peak of the difficulty and stress in the transitional phase into the PhD. I think by week 4, I did have my momentum in my routine, and I wasn't stressing so much about when I had to be somewhere or when I had to do something, what needed to be done, expectations that at that point was good to go. Now in the 4th week, I think the primary stress became the financial aspect of things. Obviously, I know finances are a difficult conversation. Everyone is in a different position entering the PhD. Everyone experiences different personal financial struggle, and that again is a very personal journey to be on. But I do think for most people, at least bouncing off of people I know, the 4th week was when we were at peak stress about our finances. Personally, prior to the program, I came from a job. I was in the workforce, and so I at that point had built my lifestyle around that salary. I was very aware of how I could live within my means in a very high cost of living city. So being used to that lifestyle, being used to that salary, being used to that income, being consistent for the past 2-3 years, moving into an environment where my income has drastically changed. It has been, I'm not even gonna lie, it's been extremely cut. And at that point, as you're transitioning into payroll and things like that, was very delayed in me receiving my first paycheck to pay things like upfront costs like rent, the initial groceries, just the initial startup of being in an apartment with a roommate and going, to Walmart to get all the things we need, and you name it. You have a lot of bills up front in the beginning that you need to pay. That security deposit and the rent payment, right? It's like a double payment right off the bat, just for one example, and you're not even getting paid at that point. So I just think I want people to be very aware of their financial situation prior to beginning the PhD. I think I got that advice a little too late. Of course, you're aware of it and people tell you, oh, you're not getting paid a lot of money and this, that, the other, but you don't think about the nitty-gritty financial details until you're in it, and it's just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I think a lot of times we have to be in it to realize just how much you needed to prepare. I think very many students at that point are living off savings that they had accumulated in their previous jobs. So please be aware of that. Please have like a savings safety net available to you in these first couple months of your PhD, because you're going to need it. I don't know anyone who didn't. That payroll is delayed in the beginning. At least it was for us, and I'm sure a lot of other people experience it as well. Maybe not everybody, but it is something to be prepared for. It doesn't hurt to have a safety net of savings set aside just in case you do need them. With that being said as well, I am no financial guru, and you don't have to take any financial advice from me, because I'm not gonna pretend like I am good at finances. I'm on myself a financial learning journey. I'm doing my best to be better with finances, especially in an environment where my income is significantly low and you're just trying to survive essentially, while also paying off, of course, I'm in academia, massive student debt, right? So anyways, all that aside, I do want to recommend that you have credit cards. I will say my credit card was my lifeline in the beginning. I want to say, don't just be charging up a credit card, of course. That's not going to help you. That's going to make your financial situation a lot worse. If you can't pay it off, if you accrue the interest, things like that. It was really just, maybe I just like couldn't pay like a full rent payment and then a huge bill like elsewhere at the same time mentally. Like I just couldn't. Oh, it just hurts. I don't know how anyone else feels about that. But my two financial pieces of advice going into a PhD is going to be, please have a safety net of savings set aside. It's really going to be a good resource for you just in case. Honestly, you don't know. I had in the past year, me and multiple friends have like medical things that popped up, and insurance issues. You just don't know. It's best to have that set aside and prepared prior to the start of your PhD in case you do have to wait for income or their income payroll. And also make sure you are at least, of course, we're all at different places in our financial journey. We're all learning for the most part. But make sure you do have some sort of literacy on credit cards and how to utilize them, and make the most of that so that it works for you in your lifestyle and in the beginning of your PhD. So week 4, like I said, just to kind of recap what I was saying there, was a time where the routine was setting in and I was getting used to what I was doing, what my responsibilities were. Financially, very, very stressed out. Luckily, I did get paid after that, so it settled. However, that was definitely the peak stress for finances. And it was also the peak in the sense that the realization of this transition finally hit full force. Because you are settling into your routine and you are used to now what your responsibilities are, you really realize, like, this is my life. This is what I'm doing. This is not just fun and games. This is not just a little something here and there. This is my life now. And with that realization for me comes the grappling or difficulty at the lack of community, at the lack of community, because you're realizing, for me, and I'm sure many other people, I've moved away from all my friends. Now I have to network again. I have to make new ones, and that can be very hard. And you're trying to figure out when your free time is. How can I go out and be social and build this community? You're realizing my resources in the community are gone. For example, I used to be in a community rowing group. I used to do all sorts of activities, and I knew the places to go and I knew the places I liked. Now I have to rediscover all of those things. I have to find new hobbies to take up and meet people at. And that, on top of the stress of a rigorous program and teaching, it feels overwhelming. It feels like a lot. But that aspect of your life is still important. I have in one of my motivation folders somewhere a quote that pretty much says, your PhD is not your life. You need to still nurture the other areas that make up your life. So for me, I was really at the peak of my struggle in week 4. And luckily, spoiler alert, it does get better after, so please stick around. I promise this won't be negative the whole time. I just do want to make you aware that this was my experience, this was what I went through, and I think a lot of people can relate to it. And if you're gonna go through it, I'd rather be honest and you be like, okay, yeah, Lauren said that. I feel more prepared that I'm not alone in experiencing this kind of, I don't want to say negativity, but these kind of feelings in the beginning. But just know it will get better. Overall, that was week 4. I hope this was helpful to you. Please let me know if you have any questions. I would love to answer them. Head over to the blog. I have more over there as well. I definitely think I'm going to try to write a post in the future about kind of the reality of the finances in the beginning of the PhD to give more of a guide on how to go through that. Obviously, today I kind of just skimmed the surface on that to have awareness around it, but I will definitely try to publish something in the future about that if you want more details on that. Again, you can follow me on Instagram, have more information on my day-to-day in the PhD, and if you stuck around to the end of this video, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm happy you're here, and I hope to see you on the next one.